Welcome to our deep dive today,
Yeah,
where we're going to unpack one of history's most defining moments, the Battle of Waterloo.
right.
You probably know the name,
Sure.
maybe even some vague details.
Oh, yeah.
But today we're going to get into the nitty-gritty, the
That's-
surprising twists and turns that led to Napoleon's final defeat.
It's fascinating how much is packed into that one event.
Oh, yeah.
What's often overlooked about Waterloo is that it wasn't just a battle.
Right.
It was the climax of a decades-long drama.
Oh, wow.
We're talking years of Napoleonic wars,
Right.
a continent on edge,
Okay.
then this brief hope of peace,
Yeah.
shattered by Napoleon's dramatic return from exile in 1815,
Oh, wow.
sparking his 100 Days campaign.
So imagine you're one of the European leaders at this time.
Yeah.
You've finally gotten a handle on things after years of Napoleon's conquests, and then bam,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Ready to shake things up again.
That's right.
Not exactly a welcome surprise.
Not at all. It's no wonder the Seventh Coalition formed so quickly.
Right.
Britain, Prussia, Austria, and Russia,
Hmm.
all rivals in their own right,
Yeah.
set aside their differences
Yeah.
and united against this common threat.
So they had to.
They had to.
Yeah.
Napoleon had essentially become Europe's public enemy #1.
And Napoleon knows he's on borrowed time. He has to strike fast and decisively if he wants to regain his power.
Yes.
This is where his gamble in Belgium comes in, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
His plan was incredibly audacious.
Okay.
Take out both the British and Prussian armies in Belgium before they could link up with the rest of the coalition forces.
Oh, wow.
Think about it.
Okay.
If he succeeds,
Yeah.
he cuts off Britain from the continent and potentially breaks the coalition
Right.
before it truly forms.
Right.
It was a high-stakes gamble that could have changed the course of history.
We're talking about massive armies here,
You know.
clashing in a small area.
Yeah,
It's hard to even comprehend the scale.
it really is.
Yeah.
Napoleon's Grande Armée. Right. While not as large or experienced as in his earlier campaigns,
Okay.
was still a formidable force,
Yeah.
numbering around 73,000 men.
Wow.
Wellington had around 68,000 British and Allied troops.
Okay.
A mix of nationalities and experience levels.
Right.
And then on the periphery,
Yeah.
we have Blücher
Right.
with his 50,000 Prussians,
Right.
essentially a wild card waiting to enter the game.
Three massive armies all converging on this one spot.
Wow.
You can almost feel the tension building.
no.
And then to complicate things further,
Right.
Mother Nature steps in.
Right. The rain, the torrential downpour the night before the battle, turns the battlefield into a muddy quagmire.
Oh, gosh.
Now, this seems like a minor detail,
Yeah.
but it actually has huge implications.
Okay.
Napoleon,
Yeah.
who relied heavily on his artillery's mobility,
Right.
is forced to delay his attack.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder how different things might have been if the ground had stayed dry.
It does.
Could Napoleon have launched a surprise attack and caught Wellington off guard?
It's certainly a possibility.
Yeah.
The delay gave Blücher's Prussians precious extra time to march towards Waterloo.
Right.
If Napoleon had attacked earlier,
Yeah.
as he'd initially planned,
Okay.
he might have faced Wellington alone,
Right.
potentially changing the entire outcome of the battle.
Wow.
Like a classic example of how seemingly insignificant events,
Yeah.
like a bit of rain,
Right.
can have a dramatic impact on the course of history.
So the stage is set. Three armies maneuvering,
Yeah.
the rain delaying things,
Right.
and this underlying tension that something big is about to happen.
Exactly.
What does Napoleon do once the ground is dry enough for his troops to move?
He launches a massive artillery barrage,
Okay.
a classic Napoleonic tactic aimed at softening up the Allied lines and demoralizing the troops.
Right.
It must have been an incredible spectacle.
Yeah.
Terrifying and awe-inspiring all at once.
I can almost picture it. The smoke filling the air,
Right.
the deafening roar of the cannons,
Yeah.
the ground shaking beneath your feet. It must have been an absolute sensory overload.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But amidst the chaos,
Yeah.
Wellington holds his ground.
He does.
Then the fighting intensifies,
Yeah.
focusing on two key locations, Hougoumont and La Haye-Sainte.
Okay.
Hougoumont,
Yeah.
a fortified farmhouse,
Right.
becomes this focal point of the battle,
Wow.
holding strategic value for Wellington.
Okay.
Think of it as a small fortress that became a symbol of British resilience.
It's fascinating how these seemingly insignificant locations,
Yeah.
a farmhouse,
Right.
a walled garden,
Yeah.
can become so crucial in the grand scheme of a battle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These were points where the tide could turn.
Right.
Where a few brave men could hold off an entire army.
Oh, wow.
Even if just for a little while.
So we've got these intense struggles for Hougoumont and La Haye Sainte. And you said earlier that these initial French successes might have given Napoleon a false sense of confidence.
Yeah, it's possible.
Okay.
The fighting was incredibly fierce.
Right.
Very back and forth.
Okay.
But eventually the French captured La Haye Sainte.
Right.
This, combined with the ongoing artillery bombardment, might have led Napoleon to believe that a decisive breakthrough was imminent.
And this is where he makes the fateful decision to send in his elite Imperial Guard.
Exactly.
Right.
Imperial Guards, you see, weren't just elite soldiers.
Okay.
They were a symbol.
Right.
The veterans of countless campaigns.
Yeah.
They represented Napoleon's power and invincibility.
Right.
Sending them in wasn't just a tactical move.
Right.
It was a statement.
So what was going through Wellington's mind at this point? He sees the Imperial Guard advancing.
Yeah.
Did he panic?
Wellington was known for his composure under pressure.
Okay.
He'd anticipated this move.
Right.
In fact, he'd cleverly concealed some of his best troops, including the British foot guards, behind a ridge hidden from the French view.
So it's a trap.
Yeah.
He's essentially waiting for the Imperial Guard to walk right into it.
Precisely.
Oh, wow.
As the Imperial Guard advanced, confident of victory, they were met with devastating volleys of musket fire.
Oh, wow.
The British lines held firm, and the Imperial Guard, for the first time in their history, faltered.
Can you imagine what that must have been like for the French troops?
Yeah.
To see the Imperial Guard, these seemingly invincible warriors, being pushed back.
It must have been shocking.
Yeah.
Demoralizing.
It must have been a huge blow to their morale.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The repulse of the Imperial Guard was a turning point in the battle.
Okay.
It signaled that Napoleon was not invincible. That victory was no longer assured. And as if this wasn't bad enough for Napoleon, there was another development unfolding that would seal his fate.
You're talking about the Prussians, right?
I am.
Their arrival had to be one of the most dramatic moments of the entire battle.
It was.
Wow.
Picture this.
Okay.
The French are reeling from the Imperial Guard's failure.
Yeah.
Their attack stalled. And then on the horizon, they see the Prussians approaching.
Oh, wow.
Blucher's forces, after their forced march, finally arrive on the battlefield late in the afternoon, hitting the French right flank hard.
So it's essentially a nightmare scenario for Napoleon.
It is.
His attack has failed. His elite troops have been repulsed. And now he's facing a fresh enemy army on his flank.
Exactly.
Oh, God.
With the Prussians joining the fight, the tide turned decisively against the French. What had begun as a hard-fought but potentially winnable battle for Napoleon quickly descended into chaos and retreat.
It's almost hard to fathom the scale of the carnage.
I know.
The sheer number of men involved in this clash.
Yeah.
What was the human cost of this historic battle?
The casualties were staggering.
Yeah.
Over 25,000 French soldiers were killed or wounded, with thousands more captured. The Allied forces, while victorious, also suffered heavily, with casualties around 23,000.
It's a sobering reminder that victory, even in a decisive battle like Waterloo, comes at a terrible price.
It does.
And for Napoleon, this defeat marks the end of his reign, the end of his empire.
Yes. Napoleon fled back to Paris after Waterloo, hoping to rally support. But it was too late.
Too late.
The aura of invincibility that had surrounded him for so long was shattered.
Oh, wow.
He abdicated for a second time just a few days later, on June 22nd, 1815.
So what happened to Napoleon after his second abdication? What becomes of the man who had once ruled much of Europe?
His attempt to seek asylum in Britain, his former enemy, failed.
Wow.
He was captured by the British and exiled to the remote island of St. Helena in the South Atlantic. He spent the last 6 years of his life there.
Oh, wow.
A far cry from the palaces and battlefields of Europe.
It really is a remarkable fall from grace. From emperor to exile. Twice. But Waterloo didn't just end Napoleon's reign.
No.
It also marked a turning point in European history. What were the broader ripple effects of this battle?
Waterloo brought an end to the Napoleonic Wars,
Okay.
a period of almost constant conflict that had ravaged Europe for over 2 decades.
Right.
It ushered in a period of relative peace and stability.
So it wasn't just about military victory.
Right.
It was about creating a new order, the new balance of power in Europe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Congress of Vienna, convened after Napoleon's defeat, played a crucial role in shaping this new order.
Right.
It was a gathering of diplomats and leaders from across Europe.
Wow.
All aiming to redraw the map, restore stability, and prevent future conflicts on the scale of the Napoleonic Wars.
That's interesting. So they weren't just focused on punishing France.
Right.
They were trying to create a system that would prevent future Napoleons from rising to power.
Exactly.
Right.
The Congress of Vienna aimed to establish a balance of power.
Okay.
A system where no single nation could dominate the continent.
Right.
They redrew borders, restored old dynasties, and created a framework for international diplomacy that would, for a time, maintain peace in Europe.
It's amazing how this one battle, Waterloo, had such a huge impact, not just on the immediate outcome of the Napoleonic Wars, but on the entire course of European history.
Yeah, it really is.
And, we were talking about the weather earlier.
Right.
The rain that delayed the battle and allowed the Prussians to arrive.
Yeah.
That just seems like such a random event to have such a profound effect.
It really does highlight the unpredictable nature of history.
Yeah.
If the ground had been dry that morning, Napoleon might have attacked earlier, perhaps catching Wellington off guard before the Prussians arrived.
Yeah.
Who knows how the battle and the course of history might have unfolded differently.
And then there's the human element.
Right.
The decisions made by the commanders.
Yeah.
Napoleon's gamble with the Imperial Guard, for instance, that seemed to backfire spectacularly.
It did.
Yeah.
The Imperial Guard were a formidable force, but they weren't invincible.
No.
Wellington, with his characteristic coolness under pressure, anticipated their attack and countered it brilliantly, turning what Napoleon thought would be a decisive victory into a crushing defeat.
It makes you wonder, what if Napoleon had chosen a different strategy? What if he had held back the Imperial Guard or focused his attack on a different part of the Allied line?
Those what-ifs are what make history so fascinating.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
We can analyze the events, the decisions, the personalities, but ultimately we can never know for certain how things might have turned out differently.
And Waterloo is a prime example of that.
It is.
The confluence of events, the personalities involved, the high stakes,
Yeah.
all combine to create a story that continues to capture our imagination centuries later.
And it also serves as a reminder that history isn't just a dry collection of facts and dates.
Right.
It's a story full of drama, intrigue, and human fallibility.
Right.
It's about the decisions we make,
Yeah.
the consequences we face,
Right.
and the enduring impact of events that shape our world,
Yeah.
even centuries later.
Yeah. So as you go about your day-to-day,
Right.
think about the echoes of Waterloo.
Okay.
The ways in which seemingly small events can have a ripple effect that extends far beyond their immediate impact. Think about the decisions that shape our lives.
Right.
And the unpredictable nature of history itself.
We often think of history as something fixed and immutable.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's a tapestry woven from countless threads.
Wow.
Each one representing a choice, an event, a moment in time.
Right.
And as we've seen with Waterloo, even the slightest tug on one of those threads can alter the entire pattern.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that history is a living thing,
Right.
constantly being reinterpreted and re-examined as we gain new perspectives and insights.
Absolutely.
And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into the Battle of Waterloo.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us on this journey through one of history's most defining moments.